Dear Founder, as you know, there's no blueprint for entrepreneurship. You wear so many hats, you burn the midnight oil, you pour your heart and soul into everything that you do. But without a doubt, the journey is worth every single second that you put into it. I'm Lindsay Pinchuk, host of the Dear Founder podcast. I say this because I've lived it for over a decade. I started my first company with $500 in my pocket and a baby in my belly. I grew it and I sold it all. This podcast is my weekly letter to you. We'll talk all things starting, growing, nurturing, and in some cases, even selling a business. Together with some of my closest contacts, I'm here to help you find your own success, whatever that means to you. The ride as a founder is the ride of your life. So come on in and join me for another episode that will get you one step closer to reaching your own founder goals. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Founder. Today's guest, Julie Smolyansky, became the youngest female CEO of a publicly held firm when she took over Lifeway Foods at the age of 27 in 2002 after her father's sudden passing. I've been working with Julie's company for 14 years, but this podcast was the first time we actually met face to face. And now I can't wait to introduce her to you. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Founder. I am so excited about today's guest because as I just shared with her, I've been following her for years and years and years, and her company was one of Bump Club's very first supporters. It's really astounding that Julie Smolyansky and I have never met until today, although I do feel like I know her, and I think that I can say that she feels the same. So Julie Smolyansky, welcome to Dear Founder. Julie is the president, chairman, and CEO of Lifeway Foods. Julie, welcome to Dear Founder.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay.
I am so excited about this conversation. I have really been wanting to talk to you for years. I don't know how we have not made this happen until now, but I'm so glad that we are. You have an incredible story, and I would love for you to start us off by sharing it.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's great. I can't believe we haven't come face to face either, because I have loved working with you for as long as I can remember. So my parents and I were refugees from the former Soviet Union, Ukraine. I was born in Kiev, and when I was one, my dad basically said, "We are getting out of here," and so we left. We were in exile for 3 months in Rome. Then we landed in Chicago in 1976 with $116 in our pocket. My mom learned English watching General Hospital, and my dad became an engineer. He was a mechanical engineer in Kiev, and for a couple of years, we kind of just lived like many immigrants do in our country. And my mom kind of really quickly figured out that while there's a lot of food in America, it's very different than her Slavic food. So she opened up the first European, Ukrainian, Russian deli in Rogers Park. That sort of started our entry into the food industry. And then a couple of years later, in 1985, they were at a trade show buying food for the store, and she became a distributor and importer. And my dad bought a couple bottles of kefir in Germany, and he drank one bottle right outside of the store and said, "Gosh, America has everything, but it doesn't have kefir." My mom said, "Well, you're an engineer. Why don't you build a plant, start making the product, and I'll sell it through my distribution system and at the store?" Of people, departing the Soviet Union in mass numbers. All the way through the 90s. And so it was a really natural market for Lifeway and kefir. And that's kind of, my dad launched Lifeway in 1986 out of our basement in Skokie from our little townhouse. I can vividly remember the lab that he set up and tasting all of the kefir. And 6 months later, with no business plan, no logo, nothing, he launched Lifeway in 86. And 2 years later, due to the massive success we were having right away, somebody suggested that he go public. He went to the Skokie Public Library to learn what that means. He had no idea what it meant to be public. Anyways, he wrote his own business plan and then went public in 88. He was the first Soviet immigrant to go public before Sergey Brin of Google or any other company. So really paved a pathway for immigrants from our region and continued to build the business. And I watched both my parents, both of them build businesses and be super entrepreneurial. And then, I graduated from college. I intended to be a psychologist. I was in grad school already working in the field, and serendipitously, a different story one day, another day, I'll tell you about it, but found myself in my dad's office and fell in love with what he was talking about. Suddenly, like it clicked for me, even though I'd grown up and helped him. I'd never really wanted to be in the business. And on one afternoon, in the middle of my first year of grad school, I was like, oh my God, I want to switch paths and come and work for him. And so I didn't go back for the second year and worked with my dad side by side for 5 years up until he had a sudden heart attack in 2002. And then I became the president and CEO at the age of 27 under super incredibly tragic, traumatic circumstances, and the rest is history. Then the rest of it, I've been doing this now for 21 years and we'll see what the future holds.
So if you don't want to talk about this, that's okay. But what was that like to all of a sudden take over this business? You didn't even know that you wanted to be in the business. And then, yes, you worked with your dad for 5 years, but all of a sudden to work with someone and then take it over is a really big shift.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was his right-hand person. He had really supported me there and wanted to push me as much forward. He included me at like every board meeting. He had me present to the board. At every meeting of shareholders, he had me presenting to, the shareholders. He had me media trained. He invested and, sent me to media training in New York for a month. He really inspired me to, or kind of put in front of me strong female role models all the time and kept telling me, one day you're going to be the CEO. This is what I want for you. Like, I remember coming home from college and he said, oh, CNN is doing a feature on Christy Hefner, Hugh Hefner's daughter who took over Playboy. And one day you're going to be just like her. So he always really kind of encouraged me, pushed me forward, told me that I could do anything I want except be the president of the United States. And that was only because I wasn't born in the United States. But he said, you can do anything you want. You have a life of freedom and just go, go, go. Don't stop. You're smart. You're this. He was my greatest cheerleader. So it was devastating for me. He was at the height of his life. He was 55. He was the pillar of his community, the center of his community. Wherever he went, there was a party. There was an entourage of, always people. He was just full of life and passion. And he was so smart and so, such a risk taker and fearless. And, to lose somebody like that and him for me, I know that he was like, he would gleam when he would be with me, when he would look at me, I could see it. So, it was devastating. That's all I could say. And even today, it's still so hard to believe that he's gone. And it was challenging. I mean, that night, his best friend said, oh, there's no way a 27-year-old girl could run this company. That's it. It's over. Sell your stock. Company's done. And I just thought, failure is not an option. And my parents had risked so much and they came and built their life and started their businesses with significantly greater challenges and, strikes against them than I was starting. He was an immigrant, strong Russian accent. I was educated in the United States. I was already building a network. I had different challenges, but, already just said, I'm going to just put my head down and work. And no matter what came my way, every single day, I just took every decision and followed my gut intuitively, just every single day. Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That was advice that somebody gave me because it was overwhelming. Legal, financial, the business, the team, my own personal, like, relationship with him. Like, it was insane. It was crisis for sure.
You just said something that I was going to ask about, and you used the words gut intuition. And I was going to say that your dad obviously saw that you were the future of the brand. I mean, he obviously had that gut intuition that one day you were going to take over. And obviously it wasn't by the circumstances that anyone thought it was going to be under. But how has that gut intuition and that notion of gut intuition played into your role as the now CEO?
Yeah, I mean, it is exactly, I have followed my gut every single day and every single hour at every single point. I mean, I use data, obviously, but that's how I come to my gut decisions. I look at data. I am a huge observer and studier, student of culture, literally, no pun intended, but culture in our society. And I have always been fascinated with demographics and how different demographics contribute to different choices. I wasn't super far off. I studied in grad school and in school in psychology, how people make decisions, and it was around dieting behavior. So it wasn't fully, in the clinical space of psychology, but how people come to decisions. How do you move the needle? These were all kind of things that came really intuitively for me. And I was super passionate about foods and nutrition and wellness anyways. I was an athlete. I figure skated for 15 years. I played varsity tennis. I became a marathoner. So, nutrition, it was so close to what I was already working on and following and studying. So, I guess following your passion is also part of that intuition. Because you just you'll know about it. If you're passionate about something, you're going to be really good at it. So that's how it kind of worked for me. But yeah, I mean, studying data, studying culture, studying the marketplace, listening to, your team, listening to the signs, seeing what bubbles up, seeing what resonates with people, being able to pivot. Sometimes your gut brings you to one thing, but that's only a step to the next other thing. It's like, you don't know until, hindsight, until time to know. But I would say there's never been mistakes. Like, there's only just learning opportunities.
So before we get into the extreme growth of the brand, which obviously we're going to talk about, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with our community what is kefir, because there are probably a lot of people listening who are like, I don't even know what this is, because it isn't, it isn't in the net. It's more mainstream than it was definitely when you and I started working together. But there are definitely still people who might not know what it is and the health benefits. And I want to give you the opportunity to share that, because I think it's so important for people to understand what we're talking about.
Yes. Well, this is kefir, and it's probably flipped backwards, but you kind of get the sense, this bottle. So kefir is a 2,000-year-old super healing superfood that is originally from the Caucasus Mountains, a region by the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, Russia, Ukraine, kind of Middle East. And the people who consumed kefir, it's a fermented dairy. So it has to be dairy-based. From a lactating mammal. And I'm getting a little bit too technical, but that's okay. We're going to go deeper. So it's fermented with live bacteria. And this bacteria is good bacteria. It's the microflora, things that are positive contributions to your microflora, your gut flora. And originally it became a method of preserving dairy or other foods. Like in Asia, they do kimchi, which is another version of like a fermented food, and they're fermenting various vegetables. So it became a preservation method, a very artful preservation method that was passed down from grandmother to grandmother to grandmother to grandmother, generation to generation. And it was really the women that held this recipe together and carried it forward. And so this bacteria is some of the oldest bacteria in our world. And I just think about, just the spiritual element of how, like, when you consume kefir, it's like you're consuming ancient generations of knowledge, of experience, of like wisdom. I mean, it's really, that to me, how important it is to me and how I feel about it. And so in this region where the people consumed kefir, they lived past 100 years of age, and they attributed their consumption of kefir to their longevity. And now scientists have backed up what my ancestors knew intuitively in their gut, that kefir brings a sense of well-being. They said that they experienced a sense of well-being, a sense of calmness, just a good feeling from kefir. Kefir literally in Turkish means kayf, means good feeling. So it's interesting, obviously the words and what they mean. And about 100 years ago, Dr. Elie Metchnikoff did the first science research studies around fermented dairy, kefir, and its contribution to our health. And he found the kefir indeed has benefits to health and can, work in a number of ailments. And he won a Nobel Prize for his research around kefir. And so that since those 100 years, we have contributed so much to science and research. And even just in the last 3 years, since COVID happened, the amount of science that has been done around probiotics and kefir and fermented foods in the gut and bacteria, it's more science in the last 3 years than I would say even in the entirety of 100 years, because every scientist has been working on, immunity, COVID, how all the ways that we can help. And so it's exponentially building. The science is building too, what our ancestors knew intuitively, what our grandmothers knew. And I think it's just fascinating that we kind of always go back to what our ancestors ate, the simple, real food. And so, so it's really exciting. And the research around immunity, around mental health benefits, around skin benefits, Margot Robbie drank kefir on set. Her nutritionist, Barbie movie hired a nutritionist, and they had Margot Robbie drinking kefir for skin health. Not just Margot Robbie, the whole cast at Barbie. So, now we are learning so much around gut health and the mind-gut axis, skin-gut axis, immunity contributions, digestion contributions. So it's beyond exciting.
So you have taken this company from $12 million to more than $140 million in 2022, and you've increased your distribution outside the United States as well to many countries. What were some of the gut intuitive decisions that you made to make this happen? That's a very big leap.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A lot of hard work, a lot of 5Ks sampling of, little community runs and things like that. Well, like working with like your organization, Bump Club, getting our product, getting Lifeway into the hands of as many people as we could was kind of number one. Building awareness, creating awareness, creating an incredible experience, making sure that the product tasted great, that we had a high quality product. But we really focused on people who were very open-minded to hearing and trying our product. So athletes, I mentioned athletes are so consumed with, what they're eating, what they're putting in their body, how they're fueling their body, how they're fueling their goals. So I knew like athletes were an incredible immediate market. We started sponsoring, every 5K, every 10K, every marathon. And we were there at the finish line. So, because of its high protein, we know that athletes love our product. So they became natural cheerleaders, new mothers. When you're pregnant, when you're expanding your family, that's the time when you're most open to making kind of menu diet changes, lifestyle changes. So, you're looking for great foods for your family and things that will, keep people healthy and well and easy to consume, convenient, not expensive, affordable. Those are all things that were really important to us and ways that we kind of communicated our message and shared about the benefits of Lifeway. And building relationships and building community with as many leaders, with influencers, quote unquote. I read Max Gladwell book, his book, The Tipping Point, very early on while my dad was still alive. And I kind of came up with the blueprint for, how we were going to influence our country, our world, and dieting behavior. So I think, The Tipping Point is the original blueprint for communicating with influencers or reaching out or, building relationships with influencers. So I think we definitely did that. And slow and steady, every year, quarter after quarter, just kept building awareness, kept building relationships, kept looking at data and watching how consumers were shifting their eating behaviors, raising awareness on the benefits of gut health and probiotics. We were the first to write probiotics on our label. And we really educated the marketplace around probiotics. And we created the category. There was no kefir until Lifeway started, really investing in this space. And it worked out because, the world was shifting with us. Consumers were going from fast food and overly processed food into organic and natural food. Whole Foods started opening up stores. Wild Oats was a competitor that they eventually acquired. And other natural food stores, co-ops and whatnot were becoming more and more part of mainstream. So we had this natural marketplace of the Russian and Ukrainian immigrants who were now settling in the United States, in addition to the health food market. And then eventually natural and organic food became part of mass market. And that's how we just kind of all grew together. And I would say we're really proud to be one of the pioneering natural organic food brands and have paved a path for so many other entrepreneurs who came after us. So, we've been doing it for 36 plus years. Most businesses have failed at this point, but I feel like are just getting started. I feel like awareness has just finally hit to this really exciting place, and we dominate with 95% of the marketplace. We're in every grocery store across the country, and we're expanding into other channels, which is really exciting. And like you said, other countries. And my goal is really to make Lifeway to kefir what Tropicana is to orange juice or Hershey's is to chocolate, really build a global iconic brand that really heals people's bodies from the inside out.
One of the things that you said that I think is so important, and just in watching your journey myself for the last 13 years, is so key to your success and to so many other brand success as well. You use the word slow and steady. World, there is this notion that you need to have success overnight, or you think people have success overnight because of how it's portrayed. Yeah. But you really have taken this and built upon your growth year after year. And, let's take it back to 2010 when, like I had shared with you originally when we hopped on. You had an employee who is still on your team, yes?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second.
Operations now.
Yeah,
right,
so you
really rised up.
You had an employee who used to bring your samples in a cooler to my house, and we used to, put them out at events, and then she'd come pick up the cooler. And that was 13 years ago. It's not like it was yesterday. And so I would love for you to kind of touch upon this slow and steady, because I think that more entrepreneurs need to hear it and understand that slow and steady is really what wins.
It really is. It's organic and real growth. I've seen a lot of companies kind of make a big splash, burn through a lot of money. It looks so sexy. It looks so exciting. And it's fake. It's not real success. It's not real buy-in. And it's a way to fail fast. And that's okay too. I mean, there's a place for that. There's a place for those risk takers to kind of, for us, for other people to kind of look at, observe, and watch and see what works, what doesn't work. But, I guess for us, we never got like private equity dollars. We never had a huge amount of budget. We were always under-resourced, always operating under scarcity, with limited, team members, and really almost bootstrapped. And I would say we still operate in that modality, in that like startup modality with that's bootstrapped, and that feeling of passion. Like everybody works on the business, and it's really exciting to see someone like the person that you're talking about. She's now VP of operations at our company. She is part of the management team, and she oversees 4 different facilities and every part of the operation. So, it's really exciting to kind of mentor and bring people up with you as you rise together. So we all rise together. But yeah, I mean, slow and steady, kind of being cautious and making sure that our proof of concept works before we, make a big splash in a market with, maybe a new product. But I've seen a lot of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs find initial success, and it's so easy to say yes to every retailer who comes calling or every client who comes calling. And then, kind of not have enough in the budget to really support the business. And that's where I see so many companies stumble. And so it's important for us to get real organic growth, real buy-in from the marketplace, real proof of concept, invest in that, prove that it works, show that data, expand, grow, build, just keep doing that over and over and over again. And that's kind of how I've operated the business.
So one of the things, it's kind of ironic that we're having this conversation today, because me personally and through Dear Founder, one of the big pillars that I'm talking about now is partnerships and the importance of partnership marketing, not paid, like organic partnership marketing. And you're going to be hearing and seeing a lot of that from me coming up. And I want to say that because anyone who follows me intently will have heard me sharing this over the last couple of weeks by the time this airs. I talk a lot about these partnerships that I had with Bump Club that helped us to grow the business. And yours was one of them. There were no dollars exchanged. We never exchanged any dollars. You guys promoted our events. We promoted and sampled you, and it worked. And you just said, we've operated like we are under-resourced. And I point that out because while I'm sure there have been paid advertising opportunities that you've done, of course, you're a CPG, but you guys really have implemented an incredible partnership and organic marketing strategy that has been, tied to sampling and trade and whatnot throughout especially the last 15 years.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's great to partner up and leverage each other's communities for a win-win relationship. You want stuff at the finish line or at the event, things to give away. We need an outlet and a platform of, people, like-minded community demographics, certain demographics that we're hitting. So it's great when it works. Sadly, we've become a little bit too big. No one feels sorry for us, and everybody wants money now. So it has gotten a lot more expensive to do these kind of. But
that's okay. I mean, you've built up to this point.
Exactly. We can do a little bit. We have a bigger budget these days, and we want to, of course, support local businesses and communities and whatever. But no, I mean, when it works, there's still always opportunities to find those grassroots opportunities and sampling opportunities. I mean, that is still something that every day we have a team now nationwide. We have nationwide teams in all the top markets that are on the ground every day in the community, giving product out, whatever.
And I want to point out to our listeners that this is now that Julie's talking about, and she got here slow and steadily.
Yeah.
And, I'm referring to 13, 14 years ago when she didn't have the budgets, but that was the opportunity. And those were the programs that were the catalysts and what she built upon to get to where she is today. So I think it's just so important to point that out, because I'm constantly saying, like, you can build a brand without a marketing budget. You just have to be really smart and strategic about it.
Yeah. Well, today, social media is so important. TikTok, which we are still trying to wrap our brains around TikTok, but, we have, thousands of ambassadors and influencers that we work with that, they're looking for content and they need product. So we're sending them product. We can a lot of times get work with ambassadors that want to represent our brand, and it's little to, no money. So that's really great. And a lot of times people organically just fall in love with our brand and want to talk about it. And that was what really, really gets me excited. And, I think about the fact that kefir started by 2,000 years ago and survived through word of mouth. So social media is like fire for that. That's exponentially so much more viral that way than just me having a conversation with my neighbor, one other person. This is like in minutes, you're communicating with millions of people. So that's really fascinating. And we were, I think because of maybe my youth, I got on social media. I got Lifeway on social media before any other brand was. We were the fourth brand on Twitter. We were the first on Facebook. And we even had MySpace pages. Our ProBugs, which is our kids product, ProBugs each have characters. So Penelope and Peter ProBug and Polly ProBug, they each had MySpace pages where we brought those characters to life. And I remember Vogue magazine at some point did a write-up on us, and they said our use of social media created like a cult-like following and avant-garde status. And I really love that because it's so true. I think those ways those are just other ways that we built awareness. And yeah, real steady, slow and steady growth. Brands that come in today and they get all this private equity dollars, it's like funny money to them. They don't value it, and they burn through it so fast. But
and
when
often they go out of business.
Exactly. And they're left with nothing. And for us, I think every person on our team has this entrepreneurial spirit and are great stewards of the budget and of decisions that we make and take ownership of it. Everybody feels like it's them, like it's theirs. And so I think that contributes to like really good decision making and choices. And
Let's turn and talk a little bit about your team, because in addition to the person we mentioned before, there was someone on this invite that I was like, oh my God, I think that person was there when we were at Bump Club as well. Oh. And, you have had, you have a very dedicated team. And I would love, my question for you about your team is, why do you think they are so dedicated? What do you do? What is your secret to get them to stay? Because I think that that's a very big challenge for many business owners and founders is finding the right people, and not just finding the right people, but keeping the right people.
Totally. Well, I keep everyone who's super passionate. I think passion trumps everything else. Passion trumps education, experience, everything. When I see somebody who's passionate, I want them on my team. I think that we have a culture at Lifeway, again, no pun intended. We have a culture of love, of family, of community. We are there for each other. We've gone through a lot together over the years. I think my authenticity as a leader, my ability to share my vulnerabilities, is something that people gravitate towards. I'm definitely not perfect. I am an imperfect leader. I have changed and evolved myself as a leader. And I think, people appreciate my intuitive nature in my leadership style. I'm pretty blunt as well. I don't like the corporate BS communications. I am very real, authentic. And I think people like that. I think people appreciate that. I think people appreciate that. And 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 I think people And, I think I bring forward also a lot of empathy. And I think today's industry in 2023 and beyond, the world is so broken. It's so challenging to live in and to be in the workforce. I think leaders who have that natural empathy, compassion, people want to stay in those companies. People want to stay in companies that they feel that they're not just a number, that they are part of something bigger. The product itself, because of the great health benefits and how it works and how much it's brought to people's lives, people want to be a part of that. They want to contribute to a purpose, something bigger than themselves. During the recent labor shortage, we didn't have a single person leave. We did not experience that labor shortage that other brands, other companies experience. And I think it is because of the way that we've run the business for the last 30 plus years, where people feel like this is family. So it's hard to leave family. And I think, we take care of our people, they take care of us. And I think we have just great respect for everyone who's part of the team. And, we've gone from, when I came to work for my dad, there were about 12 people that we employed. And today we have over 300 through 4 different facilities and a staff, field staff on the ground, sales team nationwide. So it's really remarkable. And I could not be more proud of this team and how hard we've worked, especially in the last, since COVID and before. We've gone through a lot of challenges in the industry, in the business as a whole. And, we've all kind of stuck together and through COVID, through that global supply chain shortage, through supply chain labor shortages, we've been able to kind of keep on our surfboard regardless of the waters that we're in, whether it's major waves, rocky waters, or still waters. We've stayed steady and balanced and together.
What would your dad say now?
Oh my God. He would, there would probably be a couple of swear words, like just to show the level of passion. He would say, I can't effing believe how big you've gotten this thing to. He would be super,
he knows.
He knows. I know. I feel him all the time. I feel like he's helping me and bringing things in front of me. And yeah, he would be super, super proud. He would be shocked, humbled. He'd be crying. He would just be so moved by what we've done, what we've accomplished. I'm sure he's gleaming, like just in awe right now, and proud of himself. He started it.
You said a little bit ago that you were just getting started. So what's next?
Well, I am so excited. As maybe you've seen, cottage cheese has recently become viral. And we have had a product called farmer cheese, which is like blended cottage cheese. I would say it is blended cottage cheese, essentially. We've had farmer cheese, which in our community, it's called tvarog in Russian, tvarog. It's like quark and soft, unripened cheese. It's already, the curds are already broken down. So it's not that strange feeling that you get from cottage cheese. And it's less sodium and all the great things, high protein, like an incredible high protein. We've been making farmer cheese for 36 years. It was one of our first products. But because it's definitely more well-known, very well-known in the ethnic markets. Like my friends who are of Ukrainian, Russian descent, they consume 6 to 12 containers of farmer cheese a week. So heavy users. And that is a product that hasn't really made it to mainstream. But with this recent trend of blended cottage cheese that went viral in March through TikTok, it's given us this whole new opportunity to do what we've done for kefir, we're going to do for farmer's cheese now. So we are so pumped. It's like day one again for us because it's a huge opportunity to take this product that we are already the number one manufacturers of farmer's cheese and expand it from our ethnic markets into mass market. So I am so excited to be working on this again. It feels like day one, and that excitement, that passion, that freshness, that startup mentality, we're back there again. So I'm so excited for farmer's cheese. So definitely follow us on Lifeway Kefir, because we'll be sharing all these ways that you can use farmer cheese. So many great recipes. So that's exciting. And I'm so excited to expand our ProBugs line, which is how we started working together. ProBugs is our pouched product for kids. We've had limited capacity on it. But Whole Foods has been our basically almost exclusive partner in distribution on ProBugs. We've just invested in a new machine to expand capacity, make it significantly faster, more cost efficient. And it's finally giving us an opportunity to expand ProBugs into mass market. So watch for that, and so many fun new opportunities to engage with new families, new children that are being born. I mean, that's the other thing. Every generation, there's been multiple generations since Lifeway's launched. And so we are always looking to communicate and raise awareness with new families, new kids being born, teach them how to use kefir and work with Lifeway and create those relationships. So that's really exciting. And just expanding Lifeway in general, as a whole, like the kefir space, as you said, there are still so many people that are not aware of it. So our job is really to keep on building that momentum, keep raising awareness, keep highlighting the great science and research surrounding the product, learn ourselves. Like, there's so much we don't even know that we haven't discovered yet, haven't unlocked about the product and the benefits. But, today people are more concerned with their health, with their mental health, with their immunity. And the fact that we can manipulate these different elements of our wellness through some small, just easy choices at the grocery store is very, very exciting to me. And I think exciting for everybody who's just, how can I feel better in my body? I think I constantly look at, what does wellness mean? What does that mean for us as a society? And it's not just the absence of disease, but it's also the feeling of being pain-free and thriving, feeling good in our body, feeling joy, feeling, and this is where the mental health part comes in, feeling good mentally is something that is a crisis in our country right now. And, the fact that we as a company, as a brand, can contribute to that conversation is very exciting. When COVID happened, we took all of our live events and things, experiential marketing events that so often are based on being together, being in community, sharing experiences, doing a workout, a yoga event, a marathon, a 5K, whatever it is. All of those went overnight, disappeared. We moved all of our wellness events to our Instagram live, and we did, I think, 250 live Instagram events with the top yoga instructors, meditation, sound bath, nutritionists who were, using our products, chefs that helped us create the most incredible foods while we were in lockdown, mental health chats with therapists to help us manage this. So this whole industry of wellness, it's not one thing, one check the box thing. It's a lifelong journey of many things that we can bring into our toolbox and call upon when we need them. So I think it's not just that we're a CPG brand, but we are really part of people's lives in a deeper, more meaningful way, and having conversations that are more meaningful. And so that is what I'm really excited about for the future of Lifeway.
So I have one more question for you. And I know you're not the founder, but you are the CEO and president of a family-founded business that you've been around since day one. So You are able to answer this question. Your entrepreneurial spirit, obviously, is how you run this business. But I ask everyone this question at the end, and that is, what are 3 actionable steps that you would give someone who's just starting out?
3 actionable steps. Have a mentor or many mentors. Have a lot of mentors that you can call upon to bounce ideas off, to help you kind of process and figure out what is intuitive for you, what is intuitive decisions for you. So mentorship. Okay, something that somebody told me early on, make a list of everything that you do in your day. And your goal is to cross as many of those things off of your list and delegate it to somebody else. And find what you uniquely are qualified to do, what only you in your organization can do, and do that as much as possible. So that was great advice, because if it wasn't for that advice, I'd probably still be ordering like the toilet paper for the business, like, really like things that micromanaging it. And that has been something that I have been very conscious of, to, empower my team, get the right people on the bus, and let them take ownership of their various projects while I focus on the thing that I can uniquely do. And then what else? Don't give up. I mean, number one, don't give up. There are going to be challenging days, but that just comes with the territory. Use those challenges, use the haters, use the naysayers as fuel for your fire. And just don't stop. Keep going. And when there are bumps in the road, use those as learning lessons. Do not think of it as failure. Failure does not exist. Everything is just a learning opportunity to take you to the next level.
Foods, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story with us and all of your knowledge and wisdom. I'm so excited to share this with our community.
Thank you so much for having me.
I absolutely loved hearing Julie's story, and I loved our conversation. I didn't know when we first got on that it was going to take the pathway that it took, and that we would be talking so much about the many, many principles that I used to build Bump Club, that I have used to build Dear Found Her and Lindsay Pinchuk Marketing and Consulting, and the many principles that Julie has used to build Lifeway. I think back to when I was first starting Bump Club and Beyond, and Lifeway was one of our very initial partners. And you heard me talk about it in today's conversation, in today's episode, but the way that we partnered together is really what helped us to build our brands, both of us. And I think it's really important to point that out. Julie shared so much knowledge and wisdom. She has had to really learn so much since she took over in 2002 about running a business. And there were some naysayers, as you heard her say today, but there were so many takeaways from this conversation with Julie. I want to share my top 6 actually today. So get out your pen and paper. You're going to want to write these down. And as always, please make sure that you join our email newsletter. The link is in the show notes, because you will get tips and tricks on growing your business sent straight to your inbox. So for now, today's takeaways. Number 1, use partnerships that make sense to build your business. Julie used communities like expectant moms, athletes, etc. to get the word out about Lifeway Kefir. Number 2, capitalize on word-of-mouth marketing to build your brand. Number 3, slow and steady wins. That's one that you hear me say all the time, and I'm so grateful that Julie solidified that today. Number 4, passion trumps everything when it comes to hiring a team. When you see someone who's passionate, you want to take them on, you want to hire them, and you want to keep them. Number 5, make a list of everything that you do in your day. And your goal is to cross as many of those things off your list and to delegate it to somebody else, and to find what you uniquely are qualified to do, what only you and your organization can do, and do that. Do as much of that as possible. And number 6, there are going to be challenging days, but that just comes with the territory. Use those challenges, use the haters, use the naysayers as fuel for your fire, and just don't stop. Keep going. Julie Smolyansky, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence on Dear Found Her, and thank you to everyone who tuned in to listen to this magnificent story. We have so much more coming your way next week. We will have a Found Her Files episode on Tuesday, and of course, another incredible interview with an incredible founder on Thursday. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being here.